Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my episode 1 first impression review of The Boys spin-off Gen V. So, I have watched The Boys, obviously. I have reactions on the channel. I have episodic reviews for like the first season or whatever. Um, and so when I heard this spin-off was happening, I was kind of questioning. I'm like, does this need to happen? Is this important? How will this expand on the universe of the boys and work within the storylines without feeling um, needless, pointless, just a shameless cash grab, basically, without it feeling like a shameless cash grab. um, and so as things went on, I saw like a trailer. I don't think it was the last one. I think it might have been the first one. But I found out like Clancy Brown is going to be in it, and my excitement grew. I was more interested, and so now the first 3 episodes have been released, and I have decided to check out the first one, give my thoughts here, let you know what I think about it. This is basically a college kid drama series, like your standard college drama series, um, combined with The Boys. It tackles both sides of that, um, and at times it can feel a little weird because it doesn't quite feel like just The Boys. It doesn't feel like the same series that is, mocking superheroes and just the culture behind it, as well as capitalism and obsessive patriotism and various other things like that The Boys constantly makes fun of. It's not just that. All of that is in here, but this series, instead of being a superhero story that covers like main topics as like revenge and fighting the establishment and all, it is basically a college drama, a young adult drama series, basically. And you get a lot of those kind of things. There's, for example, quite a lot of drug use in this. There is sex, which, I mean, mind you, this stuff was in the regular series. But the way it's presented is much like, yeah, this is a college series we're watching. It's like we have to present the stereotypes in full blast. The stereotypes you think about with college have to be like straight in there, sneaking into clubs, all this crazy shit. And it takes a little bit to get used to. But the series as a whole blends it well enough with the regular boys style hyper violence and superhero and just general action based media that we've come to know, as well as, again, all the shit talking about like the double standards of this kind of thing and what a superhero society would actually be like and all that. All of that is in here as well. The actors are very good. The writing is pretty good for the most part. There's some cringy lines here and there, but nothing too terrible. There's some good action, good effects, all the stuff you really kind of expect from The Boys. The music is good. Just told in a new format, basically. I didn't have too many major problems with it. Really, my problems kind of boil down to just little nitpicks here and there, and just having to get used to the fact that it feels very different from the main series. But I think that it was good. I think that it was a good first episode, and I'm definitely interested to see where it goes from here. Now, from this point forward, I will be talking about spoilers. I have been purposefully avoiding spoilers before now. From this point forward, I'm going to be talking about spoilers for episode 1. If you have not seen the first episode of Gen V yet, please check it out if you are wishing to avoid spoilers before continuing on with this video. If you don't mind spoilers or whatnot, or maybe wanting to hear about it to decide if you want to check out the show, then I guess continue on if you want to. It's your choice. But I would suggest not continuing on until you have at least seen the first episode. But do what you're going to do. I can't force you. That being said, we are going to begin with those spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so Clancy Brown dies. Clancy Brown dies in the first episode, and I am immeasurably disappointed. Cue the meme and everything from the TikTok video. My day is ruined, yada, yada, yada. In all seriousness, I am genuinely disappointed because he was honestly one of the key factors that interested me in this spinoff. And he was great in this first episode. But he does die. And I'm going to get to how, but let's talk about the main character first. So the main character of this series is Marie Moreau. Marie, we see at the very beginning of the series, we see her first in a flashback from 8 years ago. We see that her parents are watching the induction of A-Train into the 7 on TV, while Marie and her sister are playing around behind them. Marie suddenly starts feeling some odd pains and rushes to the restroom where she ends up getting her first period. And right at the same time, she also finds out she has superpowers. So, yeah, that's fun. And she finds out her powers are to control blood. So, I guess the timing works out there. So, she freaks out, understandably. And when her mother busts in the door, she accidentally shoots out the blood towards her, and it ends up slicing open her throat, killing her after what is a very long, painful, and horrifying scene showing her dying. The father comes in and you know, tries to figure out what's going on, is like freaked out that his wife is laying there dead, and he's like asking his daughter what happened. She just completely like explodes. She freaks out and her powers go haywire, and it kills him as well. Her sister ends up seeing what had happened, and then it cuts to present day. Maria's been living at an institution ever since, where it seems like the proprietor of said institution is pretty nice, but she does warn Marie that if she doesn't get out of here and end up like getting into a good place and getting adopted, she'll be taken by Vought. And even though she can't say anything to Marie because the cameras are watching, it's not good. And it's made very clear it's not good. Probably would be used for, you know, horrifying testing situations, knowing Vought. But Marie ends up getting accepted to Godolphin University, or God U, which is ridiculously on the nose for how a lot of these superheroes think of themselves. Godolphin University is directly sponsored by Vought and is supposedly the best superhero school out there. She gets accepted and ends up going to campus where she meets her roommate Emma, who can shrink down to miniature size, as well as some other students while there. And during the course of the episode, it's basically her getting introduced to various characters, as well as starting to figure things out at the school, including why she wasn't accepted for the hero course. Um, she confronts Professor Brink, who is Clancy Brown's character, and unfortunately, he kind of rejects her appeal, and she doesn't really have any options in that regard. Um, she ends up befriending some of the cool kids, including the golden boy of the school, who is literally referred to as Golden Boy, though his name is Luke. Um, she ends up befriending them and going out one night to hang out with them, where they go to a club after spending some time at Vought Tower just because they can. They go to a club, start doing drugs, she's coerced into doing mushrooms, and shenanigans ensue. One of the cool kids ends up trying to impress a girl, but accidentally slices another girl's throat, kind of reminiscent of Marie's mother and the situation that happens there. However, this time Marie ends up using her blood powers and saving this girl. The next day, she gets expelled. And according to Professor Brink, it's literally just to take the fall for Golden Boy and his friends, because they're the big golden children of the school, and someone lesser has to take the fall. Professor Brink is trying to be nice about it, clearly, but at the same time, it's a really fucked up thing to do. Like, to put all the blame on one person who wasn't even at fault and actually saved the girl's life. So it's pretty insane. And of course, Marie gets upset about it. But Golden Boy, meanwhile, is having these visions of his dead brother, who is claiming they're not dreams or whatnot, that they are real. And he starts to kind of go crazy and ends up going to Professor Brink's office and murdering him, which Marie walks in on. He chases Marie down the hall, but Marie is saved by one of the other cool kids, Jordan, who is a shapeshifter, I guess you could call them. Jordan has the ability to change form between a mask and a femme appearance. And they take on the pronouns we see based on the form they're in. He, him for the mask form, and she, her for the femme form. I'm going to use mostly they, them, just to refer to them in total. So Jordan also seems to have the ability, when utilizing their power, to counteract the powers of others. So they end up fighting Golden Boy, who again is just kind of going crazy at the moment, while Marie escapes. While those two are fighting, while Marie escapes, she comes out and she confronts Andre, telling him that Luke killed Professor Brink. And at first he doesn't believe it, but Luke then suddenly bursts out of the hall and is, freaking the fuck out. Andre manages to talk him down, but Luke flies up into the air and commits suicide by exploding himself. So that's pretty intense. It's the boys, so I kind of expected shit like this, but Jesus. And with Brink dead, I don't know if Marie's going to be expelled still. In fact, maybe Brink didn't put anything through yet, so maybe not, actually. But there's a credit sequence where Ashley from Vought basically just does a PR announcement telling people everything's okay. This was an isolated incident. Godolphin University is the safest superhero university. It's just Vought PR shit. So it's very clear that they make a very big point of how much this takes place within the same universe as the main series. It's constant. Snap, 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 all these references. They reference Starlight leaving the Seven. They reference Maeve being quote unquote dead. They reference so much that has happened in the main series. Um, and I like that. I like that this is just a part of it. It doesn't feel like entirely its own thing, but it's still like isolated from the main story. It's a good blend of that. The characters we've got so far are pretty good. I like Marie as our main character. She has this. She kind of has this darkness to her. Like I feel like she's one bad day away from becoming a villain. You know what I mean? I wonder if that's where this series is going to go. That would be really interesting. If this was like a villain origin story for her. Golden Boy was actually surprisingly likable. He wasn't like this pompous, self-righteous type of guy. He actually seemed like a good guy. He just also was very heavily involved in drugs, sneaking into clubs and shit. His girlfriend, who could basically Jedi mind trick people by touching them, she was a lot more questionable. She seems like a lot more of the self-righteous type than he did. Andre is really cool. He's a nice guy who Marie connects with pretty well. Jordan, I didn't like at first because they came across as a bit of a snob. But as we actually got to see them more, I actually like them a lot. Plus, also, I just like having a gender fluid character who's just actually kind of cool. um, Even though it's sad that he's not going to be in any more of this except through maybe like some flashback stuff or video footage or anything. Professor Brink, Clancy Brown, like phenomenal, obviously. Clancy Brown's great. I just wish he wasn't killed in fucking episode 1. It's so sad. I know he's a big name. I know like they probably had to pay him a lot to be in this, but it's just like I feel like he could have been in more. You know? Actually, I don't know how many episodes it's going to be. So that's interesting too. But yeah, I'm very interested to see where this goes. Because it's setting up a lot of interesting stuff regarding how this school works and just the plot points. Because there's this mention, Golden Boy mentions it after like killing Brink, and it's also mentioned by this this supposedly drugged up kid who's trying to escape the authorities at one point, and Marie ends up helping stop him. But there's this mention of the forest, which seems to be this high security detention facility with this forest wallpaper outside of the cells. I'm just going to call him the drugged up kid, even though it's kind of implied that he wasn't. He was taken to one of these cells and saw the forest wallpaper from outside of it. And it's kind of maybe implied that Golden Boy's brother might be in one of them. That he's like maybe being held hostage or something for some reason. I'm also wondering if this has to do with the facility that Vought was taking some of these orphaned kids to. We also don't know what happened with Marie's sister after the incident. Marie was sent to the institution, but where did her sister go? We actually don't know that information yet. It's just kind of mentioned that her sister hates her now and blames her for their parents' death, which, to be fair, it was her fault. It just was an accident as well. She didn't intend to kill them. It just kind of happened, but she did do it. So yeah, it's implied that her sister hates her, but we don't really know anything more than that. And it's really interesting to kind of get to know all of these different characters. If I had to say a favorite outside of our main character Marie, and again outside of Professor Brink, since he's dead now, I actually really like Emma. Marie's roommate. Like, she's kind of the fun loving, almost like kind of party girl type of character. Who there's a scene where you actually see her having sex with this dude and shrinking herself down to climb onto his penis because he has a weird kink about that. Um, but she has a lot more depth to her, and I'm definitely interested to see that explored. Because it's very clear that she hates people focusing on her size, but at the same time, she also runs like this YouTube show called like Little Cricket, where she like shrinks down and like wrestles gerbils and stuff like that. Um, she gets all kinds of hate messages because YouTube, you could tell how much it gets her down. Also, it seems that a side effect of shrinking causes her to puke. We see her go into a restroom before she's going to have, sex with that guy. And while preparing to shrink, she kneels in front of a toilet while shrinking down, and every time she does, she pukes. So it's like, I guess it's a side effect of her using her powers. Kind of like Uraraka from My Hero Academia. Even though she got over that, at the beginning, if she used her powers too much, she would puke. Granted, her powers are just to make things float, but still. She did get over that. I'm thinking Emma probably could as well if she trained her powers enough. But it's really interesting, nonetheless, because there's very heavily implied depth to her character, and we see how like depressed and in pain she is about doing this. And like, even when she's like gonna have sex with this guy, at first she's super passionate, super excited, but pretty much the instant he asks her to shrink down, the light in her eyes like flips off, and it's like so well acted. This actress does a great job at changing her expression so like notably and so suddenly, and making it feel natural. She just like gets this dead look on her face and is like, "Yeah, I'll be right back. Let me go take care of this," and she goes off to shrink and all. Um, and then even afterwards, when they're doing it, it's like she's just, you could tell, not really enjoying it at all. And it's like he's having her like kick his balls and stuff while hanging on his cock and everything, and it's like you could tell she's just really not into it in any way, shape, or form, and that she actually kind of hates it. I'm also glad that they didn't make her a mean girl to Marie at first. Like, oh, starts off as a mean girl, or starts off where they're just too different. No, they actually become friends pretty quickly. They actually just have a good rapport with each other. Um, and yeah, she does kind of coerce Marie into going out to hang out with the cool kids in the first place. But again, she's not like doing it out of any bad reasons or whatnot. Like, she seems like a pretty good person. And again, with the depth of her clear depression and the way people view her, like, I'm very interested to see how that develops, because she could be a really, really good character if that's handled right. Um, and I know a lot of these other characters are definitely going to be developed as the series goes. Some of them will probably die at points. I'm very interested to see what more they do, because they're setting things up really well. I think this first episode was good. Again, I have some nitpicks here and there. It's not perfect. Nothing really is, though. Just a few things. And again, the feeling of it at first, it takes a little bit of getting used to. But once you do, yeah, I enjoyed it. And again, very interested to see what they do next. So let me know down in the comments below, what did you think of this first episode? And I'm kind of unsure if I'm going to do like episodic reviews, like do a review for every episode at this point. Um, I think I'm going. I think when I watch the second episode, I'm going to decide after that. Um, I'll probably announce it on the Discord server if I'm going to do it, but if you're not on the Discord server, I would just suggest just staying tuned. If within the next week you don't see a review pop up for episode 2, I'm probably not doing it. Um, so, in the meantime, like I said, tell me your thoughts down below, and thank you all so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.